Hi everybody, we're gonna go through squatting today. This is gonna be our workout and our session for the day. Obviously, snowstorm didn't let us do that. So we're gonna go through it today really quick. And yeah, basically you would have done a warm up. You would have gone through some oblique openers, same one that we did on Thursday of last week, trying to find what breathing into the core, not into the chest, but into the stomach feels like, and then being able to create that brace. Something we worked on with those oblique openers as well was big breath in, creating tension everywhere else, and then being able to maintain tension through the core while relaxing the rest of the body. It's gonna be really helpful when we get into squatting and be able to maintain that core through different ranges of motion. First off, we're just gonna start with squatting. Big thing, bodyweight squats in general. Squatting in general is a hard movement for most people, especially those who have not been active for a while. So if you're working with anyone that's like older adults or younger athletes, they haven't done this kind of thing before. So you want to assume that they know nothing. Start at the baseline, they know absolutely nothing. They don't know what your femur is. They don't know what the quads are. Like all of that doesn't make sense to them. So use layman's terms best we can. What we're gonna do for myself, this is how I set up, and I always tell people that they can kind of play around with this to find what feels comfortable. We start with the feet just at or slightly outside of shoulder width, toes turned slightly out to the side, and this is pretty much your squatting angle and position. If this feels uncomfortable for any reason, play around with either going wider, turning the toes out a little bit more. I wouldn't say go more than 30 degrees out. Then it's a lot of hip movement, not as much focus on the quads and the glutes there. And then not so wide that we're in kind of a sumo squat, right? You want to maintain a fairly close stance for those. So play around with this for yourself as well. Find what feels comfortable for you. Once you do, I would still recommend trying anytime you're going for some squats, do a couple warm-up sets with a couple different stances. So narrower stance, toes out, whatever feels comfortable, just to play around with it, find your positioning and challenge some different ranges of motion. So when we squat, we're gonna get set up, feet just outside shoulder width, toes slightly turned out. We are gonna start by bending the knees. Easy, soft knees, right? That's our start. And we always wanna see after that, not a super upright chest, because people tend to go knees over toes. We wanna see slight lean back. We're gonna use both the butt and the front of the legs as we drive the knees forward over the toes. As we do, we're pushing the hips back. So it's not just a lean over, it's not just knees forward, it's a little bit of both at the same time. Hips back, knees forward. We come down to a position where you feel comfortable and then back up. The easiest way to find your range of motion for the day is to go with your breath. You breathe in on the way down. That finds where we can maintain tension through the muscles that we want to. If we go past that, we tend to shift tension elsewhere most of the time into the back. So we start at the top, knee bend, slight bit of hinge. We're gonna take a big deep breath in and go down. And then back up. If I go further than that, my butt tucks under. I've lost the tension from the glutes. My quads are fairly relaxed right now. That's not what we want. So we want to see ourselves stopping where we can maintain tension, the quads, the glutes, and the core especially. This is something that we'll show you in a second with some boxes, but range of motion is the most important thing to start because that's going to be the safest positions for us. Then we can start to really load it up. So I'd recommend finding your range of motion, working to that, add a bit of weight to it, and then continue to work through range of motion till we can get through what's considered a full squat, which most times for people are hip to knee. But as long as they can move through a squat pattern, the height itself doesn't make a huge amount of difference. Obviously, the more range of motion, the better. A couple other things. Feet positioning. With our weight, we do not want to roll to the inside of the foot and have the ankle cave in. We also don't want to see it go out or more weight forward or more weight back. What that'll look like as I come down, if I let the knees and the ankles kind of cave in, knees come to the middle, right? There's a lot of adductor use. There's a lot of stress through the outside of the knees, and I'm pressing back up through there. Doesn't feel great. Same thing, shooting way out the side. You'll see this a lot when people try and fix the knee cave as they do the opposite and drive the knees way out, which means I don't get as much that interior part of the quad when I have those big toes on the ground. Gives me a little more quad activation with those. So just keep that in mind. We want to see a full flat foot. same idea. Just when we load weight, you'll see the difference on this as we come down. We don't want to shift the knees really far to the point where heels start to lift off, or sit way back to the point where I can lift the toes and I'm not losing balance. Big tripod foot is what I like to call it. Big toe, pinky toe, heel, all nice and even on those 3 points of contact. When we add weight to it, the easiest way to start is the goblet squat. This is going to be taking a weight of some kind, kettlebell or a dumbbell, holding it in front of the chest. You could even do a plate, but it gets a little awkward there. Goblet position, palms at the sides, fingers pointing straight up versus holding it in front of the chest. Get the elbows nice underneath. This is going to challenge the core as the weight is in front of us, requires us to maintain that core tension, prevent ourselves from just kind of collapsing through all of our reps. Same setup, we get that slight knee bend, slight hinge, and then we are squatting down, knees over toes, hips sit back, and we press through that full foot as we stand back up. From the side, same thing, slight knee bend, slight hinge. Now that hinge is not leaning forward, that is butt backwards. So the weight stays in the same relative position over top of my feet. I'm not moving it backwards or forwards. And then from there, the weight goes straight up and down as we go through our reps with those. The exact same thing can be done with a dumbbell. You can hold this one across the chest here or in a true goblet position and do the exact same squats with those. One thing that I've enjoyed recently is dumbbell front squats. 2 dumbbells, front of the shoulders. It is kind of a bridge between your goblet squat and your true barbell front squat. Just curious that little bit more, that front rack position and that requirement of the core. Keep everything nice and stable for all of our reps. Once we've gone through those, there will be other box options that I'll talk about in a second. But your next most likely movement you'll do squatting wise is our barbell front squats. The reason for this is it is going to require more of a challenge for the core, which means there's less likelihood of us hurting our back by doing something weird. If we can't maintain it in our front rack, we're probably going to lose the weight. This one is going to be more quad dominant, which for a lot of people tend to shift to the butt because it is a bigger muscle. It's easier to activate those than it is for the quads. So front squat is easier for us to teach people how to use the squat pattern itself. First one, zombie squat. We're getting it set up. Bar resting front of the shoulders. We are lifting straight up. This is our front rack position. So I have my shoulders pulled forward. Bar is resting on the front of the shoulder, not going to be resting in the hands. I'll take a few steps out. I like to hold on to it just to stabilize to start. And then I get into my squat stance. And we are going for our same movement. Slight knee bend, slight hips back, down and up. Going for reps with those. This challenges the upright position of our front squat, which we are looking to be able to maintain through most of our reps. So this is just going to allow us to feel that front position of the bar actively on the shoulder, not resting in the hands. Once they can do that fairly comfortably, the next progression would be, for myself at least, crossing the arms over, elbows stay up. We still feel the weight on the shoulders, but we can load this a little bit more because we have a little bit more stability and support from the hands. Slight knee bend, slight hinge, same thing, hips back, knees forward, chest stays fairly upright. And we're pressing through that full foot. Then we move into our true front squat, hands at or about outside of shoulder width, pulling ourselves underneath the bar. Bar is again not resting on the hands, but it's resting on the shoulders. Elbows are squeezed up and together. This helps create that big platform for the bar to sit on. Into our squat stance, slight knee bend, slight hinge, knees forward, butt back, as we go controlled through all of our reps. We want to try and see the bar staying in a fairly vertical pattern versus moving forward and backwards through all of our reps. Now, that one's hard on the wrists for most people, and especially if they have really tight lats, they can't get into this rotated position and raise the elbow. The lats will kind of stick you there. So keep at that crossover position, or grab yourself a set of straps and you can tie the strap on. And then it's the exact same movement. Hold on to the strap and we get it on the elbow from there. That's a good variation for us to use with those. The last true movement pattern, before I talk about some of our other variations of our squat, are the back squats. This is a fun one because you can load a lot of weight, but it does require us to be able to maintain the core and maintain proper positioning. If we load too quickly, we will probably hurt ourselves if we can't maintain the positions that we want. Biggest thing for this rack setup, it is varied between people. If you're looking at like most power lifters, you'll see a fairly low bar squat just because it helps to bias the glutes. You end up in more of a hinge on your squat pattern. If you look at a lot of Olympic lifters or like CrossFit athletes, bar is resting on the top of the shoulders, more of that upright position, just challenges the core and the quads a little bit more. You won't be able to lift as much weight compared to a low bar position, but it's still fairly comfortable with those. For this position, we want to start by taking the shoulders, squeezing up and back. We create a nice big platform, top of the traps. That's where the bar is going to rest, not on the back of the neck. That's a pretty common fault for us. So back of the back is where we're looking for it. Top of the traps. We're going to start with that shoulders up, squeezing back, pull yourself underneath the bar. Think about trying to pull the bar onto our back there, creating that bit of squeeze with the lats and the elbows. And then from here, we're going to step straight underneath the bar. We don't want to start with the feet backwards and trying to, good morning the bar off the rack. We want to see feet underneath, straight up with our squat, just for safety's sake. Take a couple steps out. I take about 4 steps, and then I set my feet where I feel comfortable. If you're newer to squatting, you'll probably walk around a little bit to feel what feels good. But from this position, slight knee bend, slight hinge, and then we're letting those knees drift forward, butt sits back as we go down and up. We're pressing through that full midfoot, not letting ourselves shift the toes, the heels. One thing that we'll see a lot is if we start really upright, but our finished position is really bent over, the bar itself is going to be moving forward and backwards. You can kind of see it here. If I start really tall and I go down and I finish leaned over, the bar has moved forward and back. With the barbell itself, not much of an issue. But when we add lots of weight to it, that requires a lot from the core and the back to stabilize. What we want to see to prevent that shift is start in the lean that you would finish into the bottom. So if my torso angle starts here, it should end at the same angle. If my torso starts really upright, I should finish really upright. If it starts really bent over, I should finish really bent over. If you want an option for that low bar, we're going to roll the bar down behind the shoulder blades. I have to go a little wider with the elbows on this one. And then you end up in a lower position, which means you can lean over a bit more. And it requires a lot less from the quads, allows for more of that glute activation, just as we go through our reps with those. Now, there's other options as well on this one. Zercher squats, overhead squats. There's so many options like that. But these are the primary movements that you're going to see in everyday lifting, both in public gyms, professional sports, collegiate level, all of that stuff. So keep in mind with that, you can add those extra ones into your exercise progression sheet. A couple things that we're going to talk about on top of this are our ways to improve the squat movement itself. The first one is our box. Now, the higher the box, the easier the reps are going to be. What you're going to end up doing is sitting onto the box and then standing back up. This is giving you kind of a touch point as to where your squat should end. So for a lot of people that are newer to squats, they feel weird just kind of going down, trying to figure out where to end. Throw a box underneath them, gives them a touch point, tap, and go. If this is too low, we've got the boxes that can tip up, but the ones in the HPC, High Performance Center, we don't. So you would take a 25-pound plate, let's say, and toss your plate on the edge. We do the exact same thing. Now my range of motion is a little shorter, the box is a little higher, might feel a little more safe for me with those. With box squatting, you can then get lower, and this is something that we do a lot with our middle school and high school athletes, is we give them an end range position to aim for. So normally we would do a medicine ball. I've got a stool. This is something that I'm going to use as kind of a landmark for myself as I squat. This will help me find what parallel knee and hip looks like, and that is the end range goal for all of my squats, trying to touch back the legs to that box. That gives me, quote unquote, competition style range of motion. Now, range of motion is important for all of us. The more we can do, the more resilient most people's muscles, tendons, joints, and all that will be. So keep that in mind. Range of motion is king for the most part, king or queen. Now, one thing that we can do with the boxes as well is use it for more of a power prescription. There's two ways to do it. We have our regular tap and go, which is just tap the butt and straight back up. That's more to just limit range of motion. Football will do this one near the end of their season, just to still get a fairly high strength stimulus, but limiting range of motion because range of motion will cause more DOMS and fatigue. One thing that we can add in is a pause. This can be helping with rate of force development. So if we're looking at more of a power style phase, we'll do moderate to light weights. Sometimes add in a heavy one as well. We squat down, we relax the bottom, and then we re-engage back the top. Or even you'll see sometimes feet off and back through for the reps with those. This is allowing us to work on going from 0 to 100%, faster rate of force development, a little more power application with those. The challenge with these ones is if I sit down and I have a lot of weight on my back and I relax the core and I try and stand up from there, core is not braced, my back is fucked. All right, we don't want to see that. So we want to see as we come down, big brace, maintaining that brace at the bottom, whether it's a breath in and out to reset, whatever you need to. We just don't want to see ourselves losing the brace at the bottom. Now, let's say somebody would like to work on their range of motion, but ankle mobility is a challenge for them. At Acadia, we have heel wedges that are a long metal board. Here at Tidal, we've got more adjustable ones. Now, my shoes I have on right now already have a built-in heel wedge, so if I had these off, it'd basically be like using one of these. But we elevate the heels. If you think about this is the range of motion at your ankle, as soon as we elevate the heel right here, range of motion increases immediately. So it's just an easy fix to allow ourselves a little more range of motion with our reps. Slight knee bend, slight hinge. We can stay even more upright on this position though, as the knees can get even more over the toes without me compromising that neutral spine and my brace. My reps like that. That's our other option. Now a couple things you can do as extra challenges. All right, this is stuff that we will add into the extra side portion of each exercise. Tempo is the easiest one to add. Well, it's not the easiest. It's one of many options for adding more challenge. Tempo, pauses, controlled descents, slower concentrics, all of that will add a little more challenge to it. Combination of everything as well. We can add what's called accommodating resistance. So that would be either a band or even chains, which you'll see at the gym at Acadia. You basically add some weight to it where at the bottom there is less weight. The band looped around is relaxed. As I press up, the band tightens and makes it harder, which requires more rate of force development. As you push up, requires more force. You have to continue to create more force versus just using the weight on its own. Requires one amount of force technically to get that weight up to the top. You can add more range of motion. We can, what else? That's pretty much it. If you can think of other options as well, range of motion, tempo, and accommodating resistance, let me know. I wouldn't recommend like perturbation where we create some instability on these ones. It's just not as safe of an exercise to do that kind of stuff with. And yeah, that was a lot for squatting, but you can put it on 2 times speed if you need to. Well, if you're already here, you probably haven't done that, but that's okay. And yeah, we will see you on Thursday. I don't remember exactly what it is. I think it's pulling, and we'll go from there. Let me know if you have any questions.